Studying ancient Mexico for 14 years, and what the slideshow presentation we're gonna see today is the result of our research about the meaning of the name Mexico and the eagle and the serpent that I made 10 years ago. That research won the National Prize of History about national symbols. Well, we're gonna see a lot of images about cactus, archaeological monuments, and I'm going to give you a lot of information. Don't pay attention to the information. I would like you to focus in these two ideas. The name of Mexico and its national coat of arms are pre-Hispanic symbols which mean or which are related to two fundamental ideas in the ancient worldview of Mexico. One is the idea of the navel of the cosmos, and the other is the idea of sacrifice. Yes? So please focus on these two ideas, and if you want more information of what we are going to be talking about, I can email you the presentation or anything. Yes? And if my English is not very clear or you have a doubt, please stop me and we can have a dialogue. Yes? Okay. Where are you from?
Here.
Here? You live in San Miguel, most of you? Canada, United States, England? Yeah? Okay. Well, nice to meet you. I was born in Mexico City. I have been living in San Miguel for 2 years. I love this town. Have you been in Cañada de la Virgen, the new archaeological site? Yes. Well, it's an old site, just opened 2 days ago for the Publica. It's worth to visit it. I visited it last year. It's really an amazing place, very special, and well, many people think that in this part of Mexico there were not archaeological sites, but well, all over Mexico we have archaeological sites. The National Institute of Anthropology have registered more than 38,000 archaeological sites all over Mexico, but we estimate that we have more than 300,000 archaeological sites. So every place in Mexico you dig a little bit and you're going to find something. Okay. Well, this presentation is part of a cultural project called Artisans of Time. We're a group of anthropologists that through these kind of lectures, workshops, also we make field trips, we get funds for our research projects about Mexican heritage. Yes? Well, I'm sure every one of you know this image. You can see it in every Mexican coin. It's the central part of the Mexican flag, and this is going to be our central topic. The Mexican coat of arms is a symbol of the mythical foundation of the capital of the Aztec people. The capital of the Aztecs was founded in 1325. Yes. The history of the Aztec people it's really great and very similar to the one of the Incas, for example, in Peru. For the first 100 years they founded the city, the Aztec people had to pay tribute to another little city in the shore of the ancient lake of Texcoco. That city was Azcapotzalco, now a neighborhood of Mexico City. So for 100 years they had to pay tribute until they make an alliance with another two cities, Texcoco and Tlacopan, and they fight the Azcapotzalco people. They won. And what we know about the Aztec Empire was a really fast development from 1428 to 1519 when the Spaniards arrived. Yes? This is an image of what used to be the island of Tenochtitlan. Nowadays, this is the historic center of Mexico City. Many people don't know that Mexico City is built over what used to be a group of 5 lakes. I think Mexico City is a world heritage city for many things, but one, to remember us that in that place took place one of the great ecological disasters in humankind. Yes, this was a very beautiful place, and for at least 5,000 years, the indigenous people that live in the Americas have this harmonic relation between the cities and the lake. Since the Spaniards got here, they had a lot of problems with water, because you can see all these lines here are roads that connected the island with the shore, but also they work as dams. Yes, they protect the city. Yes, because the lakes that were in the south part of the city were at a higher altitude than the lakes where the island was. So when the Spaniards destroyed the city, they destroyed also all this hydraulic system the Aztec built. And since 16th century, Mexico City, the new Mexico City, the Spanish Mexico City, was flooded many times. And because of that, in the 17th century, they decided to drain the lake. And that was the beginning of the end of this water culture civilization. But for example, I have an uncle that he's now almost 90 years old, and he remembers that in the 50s, the woman from Xochimilco, where the floating gardens are, will go by boat through rivers to the center of Mexico City 60 years ago. So imagine how much Mexico City has changed. Yes. So this is Mexico City 500 years ago. This is Mexico City. This is the group of 5 lakes. This is the island of Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital. This is Xochimilco Lake, where the floating gardens are, and that nowadays you can visit them. They are really beautiful. They are artificial islands. Yes, these islands are called chinampas, and it was a very important technical improvement made by these people, because through this artificial island called chinampas, they could harvest corn 3 or 4 times a year. Yes. So they say this part of the lake was the part where all the corn was produced to sustain all these towns that were established in the shore of the lakes. Something really important is that these lakes were saltwater lakes because of the geological formation of the mountains here, and these 2 lakes were freshwater lakes. Yes, so the Aztec people built a great dam from this little peninsula to this, where the shrine of Guadalupe is, so they could plant corn in the island. So they divided the salt waters from the fresh waters. Yes, but this is a satellite image. Nowadays, Mexico City, you can see that the water lakes have transformed in concrete and steel lakes. Yes, this is. You can see, if you want to recognize, this mountain is this mountain. Yes, and this little point here is this little point here. Yes, this is called Cerro de la Estrella. Cerro de la Estrella is very important because each 52 years, the Aztec people will perform a very important calendaric ritual over there. You know, like for us, a century is 100 years long. For them, a century was 52 years long. Yes. So each 52 years, imagine this ritual. They will light up all the fires of all the temples, of all the homes, of all the houses, and the priest will go up to a temple that was at the top of the hill, and they will light on a new fire exactly when this constellation called in Spanish Las Pleiades, I don't know in English, the Pleiades will be in the zenith. In that moment, they will light on a new fire, And from that new fire, they will light on the fires of all the other temples, of all the other cities, and that fire will run another 52 years. Yes? It's very curious because nowadays, in that place, they perform each Holy Week the crucifixion of Christ. So, well, this is Mexico City nowadays. And, well, something very important is that this huge city, with more than 20 million people living out of there, such a modern city was founded 700 years before because of an idea of human imagination, yes, and that's the idea we're gonna analysis today. This is a codex. This is the first page of a codex called Codex Boturini, or the Pilgrimage Codex. It's a codex made in the 16th century when the Spaniards have already arrived. So this codex made in the 16th century had this combination of the Western style and the indigenous style. Yes. So this is Aztlan, yes? This is the mythical Aztlan. This is the island where some chronicles tells us that the Aztecs used to live until their leader, their spiritual leader, decided to begin a pilgrimage, yes? So we can see they are crossing the lake in a year, one Flintstone, yes, that is part of the calendary system of these people, yes. So they cross the lake and they come to this huge hill called Culhuacan, yes. We have many Culhuacans in Mexico. Culiacan, Sinaloa, it's Culhuacan, yes, it was a Nahuatl name, but we have many possible Culhuacans, we have many possible Aztlan islands, yes. Some authors in certain moments thought that the lakes where the Aztecs used to live maybe could be the Great Lakes of North America. Some others thought that maybe the place where they began the pilgrimage was Mesa Verde in the south part of the United States. Now what we know is that Aztlan, or Culhuacan, or another name, Chicomostoc, the place of the seven caves, is a mythical place. Yes, it's a mythical place, and we have many real geographical places that are called like that because they want to make this connection with the mythical world. Yes, so here we can see Huitzilopochtli, the name of the spiritual guide of the Aztec that then was transformed in a god when he died. Yes, giving the orders. You can see this curved design. It means in the hieroglyphic writing of ancient Mexico, it means word or speech. So he's giving the orders to start the pilgrimage. This is another codex, and instead of we have like 10 different versions of the Aztec pilgrimage. Yes, we have 10 different sources of indigenous origin, Spaniards that wrote what the indigenous people told them. So we have or Aztlan, or the hill, or the place of the seven caves, yes? So, that is called Chicomostoc. The Mayas of the post-classic period also have as the place of their origin a place called Bucupsiban, that means exactly the same, the place of the seven caves, yes? This 16th century codex also with the seven caves. They started their pilgrimage in 1111, and they were guided by 4 leaders, 3 men and a woman. Yes, these are men, and this is a woman. You can see her skirt. Yes, and this symbol that is above them is their name in hieroglyphic writing. So, for example, this one, it's a serpent with an eagle head. So his name is Cuauhcoatl, eagle serpent. Yes, this is a serpent, and these little circles are the hieroglyph for mirror. So his name is Tezcatcoatl, mirror snake. Yes, you can see that all of them they have a kind of backpack. Yes, it was a sacred a pack where they have the remainings of Huitzilopochtli. You can see here Huitzilopochtli, which means the left-handed hummingbird. That's why you can see that he has this hummingbird,
The beak?
Yes, yes, over him. So, from the other world, through his bones or remainings, Huitzilopochtli is guiding the people who is guiding the Aztecs. Yes? This is a very important moment because the Aztecs were making their pilgrimage with another 7 tribes. But they said that they stopped in one place. They were eating and this huge tree broke up. And they said that's a signal. So they asked Huitzilopochtli and Huitzilopochtli told them, this is the moment to separate from the other 7 tribes. This is the moment where you have to start your pilgrimage alone. Yes? So that's why here you can see the Aztec people is crying because of the message Huitzilopochtli is giving them. Yes? And this is an Aztec priest telling the other tribes that they are going to go their own way. Yes? So the Aztec people now are worldly known as Aztecs, but that's not the real correct name because they were Aztecs, but in their pilgrimage, their God changed their name from Aztec to Mexican or Mexica. Yes? And Huitzilopochtli changed their name when he asked for the first sacrifice. Yes? So here we can see these 3 people here is part of the same codex we just saw, are going to be sacrificed. And the Chronicles tells us that when they sacrificed these 3 warriors that were Chichimeca people, Chichimeca, the ones that live in this region of Mexico, Huitzilopochtli as an eagle gave them the arrow, yes, the arrow and the arc to hunt, and the net to fish, yes. And in that moment he told them, you are not anymore the Aztecs, now you are the Mexican or Mexica. So, Mexica, Mexico, Mexico is a Nahuatl word, and there have been many discussions in the last 100 years of what is the meaning of the name Mexico, because the translation to Spanish gives us several possibilities. The main 2 ones are these. Mec comes from mec, that means the agave plant, where the pulque is made, this alcoholic beverage that the warriors used to drink in those times. But also, the syllable me of Mexico could come from mezcli, that means moon. The interesting thing is that the agave plant, it's a moon plant. It's related with the moon and female energies in the Aztec worldview. So then she or Mexico comes, the second syllable comes from Xicli, which means navel. Yes? And the last one, co, means place. So Mexico will be the place of the agave's navel or the place of the moon's navel. But in a symbolic level, the agave's navel is the moon's navel. But why the moon's navel? I'm gonna skip this. Well, why the moon's navel? Because you just saw the image of the lakes. We know that the esoteric name for the Texcoco Lake, where the island of the Aztec was called Meztliapan. That was the esoteric name of the lake, and Meztliapan literally means the water of the moon. So, the navel of the moon, the navel of the lake of the moon, was the island of the Aztec people. How are we going? Well, this is Coyolxauhqui. This is the sculpture of the moon goddess. This sculpture was found 33 years ago in what nowadays is the Aztec Templo Mayor, the main temple of the Aztec at the center of Mexico City. It was founded the 21st of February of 1978, almost 33 years ago. And it's very interesting because workers of the light company were putting some cables on the underground and they found the stone. So they stopped working, they called their archaeologists, and that was the beginning of the main temple archaeological project. Before that, archaeologists thought that the main temple of the Aztecs was below the cathedral. Now we know it's at the side of the cathedral, yes? But why we have the moon goddess, it was found exactly at the beginning of the stairway to the top of the temple. Why we found the moon goddess at the main temple of the Aztec, if we know and everybody says that the Aztec people is the people of the sun? Well, because of the myth of the birth of the sun, the myth of the birth of Huitzilopochtli, yes? This is one of the great masterworks in sculpture of the Aztec people. This is the Coatlicue, which means the one of serpent's skirts. You can see this is her belly, and you can see that in her belly she has a skull, but it's not totally a skull. It's not totally a dead skull, because you can see it still has its eyes, so it's a living dead. And this is very important because not only in the Aztec, in all the ancient cultures, we have this very important idea of duality. Yes, life cannot be understood without death. Yes, existence is this combination of life and death, and that's the idea the Aztec put here in the belly of the mother goddess of the earth. So you can see this belt, and you can see this skirt. It's a serpent skirt. So we have this myth where Coatlicue, the earth goddess, was working in her place at the top of the serpent hill, and suddenly a feather fell down from the sky, and they say she put the feather in her belt and she got pregnant. We have a lot of that kind of myth all over the world, you know? So she got pregnant, and Coatlicue was mother of Coyolxauhqui, the moon goddess. But when Coyolxauhqui knew that her mother was pregnant, but that nobody knew who was the father, she was really angry. And the moon goddess decided to kill her own mother because of that. So we have this myth where the moon goddess is guiding all the stars that are her brothers and sisters to kill the mother, the earth goddess. And exactly the moment they go to the top of the serpent hill where the Coatlicue is, Coatlicue gives birth to Huitzilopochtli, the sun, and they say when he was born, he was already dressed like a warrior, and the first thing he did was to fight against the moon goddess. And he defeated her. And that's why you can see the moon goddess is all chopped. You can see here her arms, her legs are separated from her body. Also her head, you can see here, this is part of her bone. Yes? Here also part of her bone. Huitzilopochtli, the sun, destroyed her. So anthropologists have interpreted this myth as a symbolic view of the movement of night and day. So when the sun rises, the powers of light destroy or defeat the powers of night, the powers of the moon and the different stars. So that's one of the different meanings that this myth has. So the main temple of the Aztec, that was called by them the Serpent Hill, is an architectonic expression of this myth. Yes? Okay. Well, this is the Aztec calendar stone. So, well, this is what I was telling you about, the esoteric name of the lake of the moon, Mezcliapan. And I'm going to skip this. So, after more than 200 years of making this pilgrimage to the north part of Mexico, yes, maybe you have heard about Mexiquito here in San Miguel. Well, there are some legends here that say that Mexiquito was a place where the Aztec people stopped before they went to the last place where they found it, Tenochtitlan, and that's why it's called Mexiquito. And we have some chronicles that they say that they stopped first in a place where they thought that was the place where they were going to build their city, but not Huitzilopochtli said, no, you have to go, yes, don't stop here, yes. So, the eagle over the cactus trees was the symbol that Huitzilopochtli, their god, tell them, when you see an eagle over the cactus tree, that is going to be the place where you're going to found your city. Yes. So what happened? The Aztec people arrived many years before they founded Mexico City. They arrived to the lake region. But when they arrived, let me show you again the map. When they arrived here, all these signs here are hieroglyphic names of all the towns that were founded in the shores of the lake before the Aztec arrived. Yes. So when they arrived to the lakes, the best lands were already taken. Yes. And some of the people, like for example, Culhuacan, tried to destroy the Aztec people. For example, the Aztec asked permission for the people of Culhuacan to stay in some part of their land, and they sent them to a place where now is the National University in Mexico City, because that place was full of snakes. So the Culhuacan people thought the snakes were going to kill the Aztecs, but the Aztecs began to eat the snakes. So at last, a very important part of the pilgrimage is when the Aztec passed through a very beautiful town called Malinalco. Maybe you have heard about Malinalco. It's a beautiful place in the state of Mexico, close to Mexico City, with these kind of magical mountains similar to the ones of Tepoztlan, and where a small temple for the initiation of the eagle and jaguar warriors was built. Well, they say that Huitzilopochtli, the leader, or one of their priests, had a sister that was like a black witch. Yes, she was called Malinali. So because she was always making trouble, they decided to abandon Malinali in that place, Malinalco. That's why it's called Malinalco. So the sister of Huitzilopochtli or his priest promised to venganza, to have revenge. So when the Aztecs were already in the region of the lakes, she sent her son Capil to fight against the priest of Huitzilopochtli, and they fight over the top of a hill near nowadays International Airport of Mexico City. And the priest of Huitzilopochtli destroys Capil. He chops his head off. He takes out his heart, and then the priest gives this heart to the political leader of the Aztecs, and he tells him, please take this heart and throw it in the middle of the lake. Throw it from the place Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, was seated in his mythical pilgrimage. So this political leader, which name is Tenoch, which means cactus tree, throws the heart, and they continue living now in Chapultepec, the Chapultepec forest, like the Central Park of Mexico City. And after many years, more than 20 years after that battle between the priest and the son of the sister of Huitzilopochtli, the priest has a dream, and so he tells Tenoch, the political leader, Tenoch, do you remember the place where you throw the heart of Capil, the son of Malinali? He said, yes, well, go there, because out of there you're going to see the eagle over the cactus tree. So they go there and they see the eagle over the cactus tree. But the important thing here is that this stone where the cactus tree is born is the heart of the first sacrificed man, which was the son of Malinali, that in a symbolic perspective is the son of the moon. Yes? But many people think that part of this prehispanic myth was the eagle eating the serpent, but no. We have different codex and different images. For example, this one, that is part of a book made by a Franciscan monk, a Dominican monk in the 16th century. We can see the eagle with the serpent. But for example, this one, that is called Códice Tobar, instead of a serpent, we have a bird. Yes. Or this one, page 1 of the Codex Mendoza, we have the eagle without anything. If we look to the original, it has only blood in her mouth. But again, we can see the stone, that is the heart of the first sacrifice, the cactus, and the eagle. You can see the idea, in this codex, you can see the idea of the cosmos, not only the Aztec, but all the indigenous people of Mexico have about space and time. The 4 regions of the world, east, west, north, south, yes? And the 5th direction, in their idea of the space, the 5th direction is the navel of the cosmos. The navel of the cosmos is fundamental because they think the 5th direction is the place where all the energies of the 4 cardinal points go together with the energies of the 3 vertical levels of the cosmos. The underworld, or the place of the dead, the surface of earth, and the sky. So, what the National Coat of Arms means is this idea of the navel of the cosmos, and the stone, the heart of the first sacrifice man, represents the energies of the underworld. The cactus tree represents the energies of the surface of the earth, and the eagle, of course, represents the energies of the sky. But all integrated in this navel, yes? The navel of the cosmos is a place of foundation for excellence. The navel of the cosmos also, because of that, is a place of sacrifice for excellence. And why sacrifice? As Westerners, our perspective of time is like a line. You know, we have at the beginning of time, and then we have a line, and well. But these people have this cyclic time view, yes, very related with the agricultural process. So, in a cyclic time view, death is always birth. Death is always the beginning. When you plant the seed of corn in the soil, the seed dies, but the plant of corn is born. That's the idea of sacrifice, yes? And that's the reason why they practice not only human sacrifice, but many others kind of sacrifice. But they have this very energetic perspective of space and time. When they were sacrificing a warrior, they were transforming matter to energy. Yes? And when a warrior was sacrificed, he knew that his energy was going to contribute to the rhythm, the basic rhythm of the universe. His energy was going to help the sun, which pointed out through night and day the basic rhythms of days, night, cycles. He will contribute to the order of the universe. That's the main idea in the act of sacrifice. And whenever they make a sacrifice, they will open a navel, a cosmic navel. Yes? So every pyramid in Mexico represents this idea. Mayan, Zapotec, Olmec, Cañada de la Virgen. These pyramids that now are called hills, the pyramids are man-made hills, represent this idea of the navel of the cosmos, where all the energies of the universe are gathered together, and then from that central point they go beyond and create everything. So the ancient city had a double name: Mexico, Tenochtitlan. What does it mean, Tenochtitlan? Well, the first syllable, Tetl, means stone, Nochtli means cactus tree, and Tlan is another syllable for place. So Tenochtitlan means the place of the cactus tree born from the stone. This is a codex also of the 16th century that nowadays is in the Biblioteca de Paris in France. This is very interesting because here we can see that the cactus tree is born from whom? From Capil, the one that was sacrificed by the priest of Huitzilopochtli. So here is very clear that the stone represents the sacrifice. Yes? This is a very important monument. This is a scale model of a pyramid called the Teocalli of the Sacred War. Teocalli means temple in Nahuatl. And at the back part, like in the back wall of this monument, we have the oldest image we have found of the symbol of the foundation of Mexico. Yes. So we have here. It's not very clear. It's going to be maybe difficult for you, but here you can see 1 foot and another foot, 2 feet here. Yes. Then you can see this is part of his leg, the knee, and do you remember the Chac mold? Well, it's like a Chac mold. Yes. It's very destroyed, so the face is not very clear, but from the heart or the chest of the Chac mold is where the cactus tree is born. The interesting thing is that the fruit of the cactus tree, the tuna, the red tuna, was a symbol of the heart, of the human heart, and you can see here, it's made as in the shape of a human heart. The other interesting thing about this image is that it doesn't have neither a serpent or a bird. It has a very important symbol that is called atlachinoli, burning water. This glyph is a glyph for fire, and this glyph with these shells here, these shells means water. So it's the integration of the opposites. It's the integration of life and death, the integration of the sky and earth. That's the meaning of the national symbol. So we have this duality idea going on in many levels. We have the double name of the city, Mexico, which means the navel of the moon. Tenochtitlan, that was the island of the sun. Yes. So in the cosmos, the first name is related with the moon, the second with the sun. In the sacred geography of these people, Mexico, moon, is related with the esoteric name, Lake of the Moon, and we know it was the island of the people of the sun. Yes? In the nature cycle, Mexico is related with death, the sun is related with life. Yes? And in the middle of Huitzilopochtli, it's represented by Coyolxauhqui, the moon goddess that we just saw, and Tenochtitlan is related with Huitzilopochtli. In the middle of the foundation, Capil, the son of the sister of the priest of Huitzilopochtli, in a symbolic way represents the son of the moon, and the priest of Huitzilopochtli represents the sun. Nowadays, Mexico is the name of the country and its capital, and we don't have the name, but the national coat of arms represents this idea. So, well, I'm going to skip these images. Do you have any questions? No? Well, this is an image of another codex where what we are seeing here is the initiation of these Chichimeca warriors. Yes? They are initiated by Toltec priests, and it's very interesting because maybe you have heard about the vision quest made by the Lakotas or Sioux or many indigenous people of North America. You go 4 days to the top of a mountain and you don't eat, and you stay alone by yourself those 4 days searching for a vision that is going to help you go through. Well, that vision quest was made by the warriors and rulers of ancient Mexico. And these two warriors are over a mesquite tree. And in this moment, they are passing through the 4 days of fasting. But in the text that is at the side of the image, they say that the eagle and the jaguar are feeding them. But what are they feeding them? It's atlachinoli, again, it's burning water, the symbol of the integration of the opposites. So, the symbol of the foundation of Mexico is related with a tradition that goes far beyond the Aztecs. The Aztec people inherited a tradition that maybe started at Teotihuacan. 1,300 years before they founded their city, yes? And that spiritual and political tradition was passed from generation to generation, from Teotihuacan to Tula, to Tula, to Culhuacan, to Tenochtitlan. So many people think that the Aztec people were these savages that only imitated the other cultures, but that's not true. Mesoamerica, ancient Mexico, was a very dynamic social cultural system that generated these, how can I say, these rituals, so people that didn't live originally in this region could inherit this tradition associated with the agriculture of corn, with the building of pyramids, and with the calendaric systems that all these people share.
Pregunta.
Sí.
¿El dibujo es prehispánico el anterior? ¿Es prehispánico?
No, it's the Historia Tolteca Chichimeca is the name. It's a codex made also in the 16th century. Of course, most of these kind of codex were based in pre-Hispanic books. Remember that in ancient Mexico, all the cities were like in ancient Greece, like Athens. All the cities have libraries. They have hundreds of books in each city, but all those books were destroyed in the 16th century. Of the hundreds or thousands of books we used to have 500 years ago, we only have less than 20 books. Most of them are outside Mexico. Yes, for example, this is a 16th century college is in Paris. The only 3 Mayan codes we have are outside of Mexico. One is in Spain, one is in Paris, and the other one is in Dresden. Yes? Many of them are in the Vatican, for example. And so we have less than 20 books, pre-Hispanic books, original pre-Hispanic books. But in the 16th century was a super interesting moment because, yes, it was like a clash of two cultural systems, but also it was a moment of a deep dialogue between the Western cultural system and the indigenous cultural system. We have, for example, codex of the 16th century in hieroglyphic indigenous writing, but with the Padre Nuestro, Padre Nuestro que estás en los cielos, like the main prayer of the Christianity. Well, we have a codex in hieroglyphic writing about this prayer. So the first time the indigenous people knew about Catholicism or Christianism was through Nahuatl language. The first thing the 12 Franciscan monks that arrived here to Mexico they did was to learn Nahuatl language. Yes, and the point of connection between the Christian worldview and the indigenous worldview was the idea of sacrifice. In all the indigenous people nowadays in Mexico, the myth of the birth of the sun has been transformed in the myth of the birth of Christ. Yes? In many indigenous people, Christ is the sun is Christ. And that's one of the reasons, one of the strange reasons that what happened in Mexico happened. Yes? Why all these thousands of indigenous people were baptized and they accepted the new beliefs? Because for many of them, and especially for the priests, we have chronicles that the Mayan priests, they say, okay, we have the same worldview. They are very similar. For many indigenous people, there was certain kind of continuity between their tradition and the Christian one. This is something strange to hear because the official history tells us, well, 16th century, 1521, Tenochtitlan was won by the Spaniards. Ancient Mexico was stopped in that moment. No. Ancient Mexico is still present nowadays. The Catholicism practiced by the indigenous people of Mexico nowadays, 2011, it's a massive combination, syncretism, hybridism of both traditions. So, this is not only history. This is what is going on nowadays in different ways. Bueno, me excedí un poco la respuesta.
Well,
¿Sí?
Entonces dijiste, esos son del siglo XVI.
Estos son códices del siglo XVI. Yes, so we have, if we have less than 20 books of pre-Hispanic times, we have hundreds of codex made in the 16th century.
This is made by Hispanic people.
No, this is made by the Tlaquilos. The sons of the noblemen of the Aztecs and the sons of the noblemen of all the cities in the central part of Mexico were taught by the Franciscan monks in the 16th century, and they learned to write in Latin characters, and they learned to paint what they used to paint, but also they learned the techniques of painting of the Western world, and we have many codex. This we cannot see, but we have many codex that we have like the pre-Hispanic image, and then we have in Latin characters the translation of what it means. So this codex was made by indigenous people with a Western education. Yes? Okay. And well, I think, well, I'm going to skip this. This will be like topic for another lecture. And well, this is the last idea I wanted to make. The eagle represents the sky, the cactus represents the earth, and the stone represents the underworld. Yes? And that's what our coat of arms represents nowadays. The Virgin of Guadalupe has also these symbols. Yes? You know, the Shrine of Guadalupe was not the Shrine of Virgin Mary of Guadalupe in pre-Hispanic times, of course. The Shrine of Guadalupe was a pilgrimage place centuries before the Spaniards got here. But this was a shrine for the earth goddess. Yes? So, the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe that was made in the 16th century can be read also as a codex. Yes? So, we have the sun behind her, the moon at her feet. You can see her cape of stars representing the sky. And here it's not very clear, but her dress is full of flowers representing the earth. So you can see we have these same symbols, yes? The black ribbons mean she's pregnant. So she's pregnant of Jesus. But we have very interesting mythological chronicles that tell us that the earth goddess has different kind of names. One of her names was the one dressed with the skirt of the stars. So the one that is dressed with the skirt of the stars was transformed in the one dressed with the cape of the stars. Yes? And the one dressed with the skirt of the stars, she had a sun in the sky, and that sun went down to the earth, and from that sun, all the men gods that were sacrificed in Teotihuacan were born. Yes, I know it's complex, but there are many correlations. Yes. The little angel below her is grasping with one hand the cape of the star and with one hand the grace of flowers. So it's integrating the earth and the sky and the body of the Virgin Mary of Guadalupe. Yes? No. Who decided that the coat of arms of present Mexico was going to be the symbol of the foundation of Tenochtitlan? This man, he's Morelos. He was one of the independence revolution leaders 200 years ago. After Hidalgo and Allende were killed, he took the leadership of the revolution. And he has a very beautiful speech that he made in Chilpancingo near Acapulco, where he called to the ancient leaders of pre-Hispanic Mexico. He said, "O great Moctezuma, Cuauhtemoc, Cacamatzin, here we come your sons to restore the ancient republic." That was his idea of the independence of Mexico, a connection with the ancient culture and civilization. And that's the reason that he decided to use as the coat of arms of the new nation, the coat of arms of the last independent nation of pre-Hispanic Mexico. Yes, so we can see his portrait, and here we can see the eagle over the cactus tree, and this was the flag his battalion used. Yes, the eagle over the cactus tree, now mixed with Western symbols as the crown, for example. 100 years later, we have another cyclic revolution in our country, and the Mexican Revolution of the 20th century cannot be understood if we don't understand it as a process of self-consciousness of Mexicans through culture. And one of the great creators that expressed in an artistic way this self-consciousness of Mexicans that was going on 100 years ago, of course, it was Diego Rivera. This is the main mural of Diego Rivera painted in the National Palace of Mexico City. And it's very important because you can see that at the center of the mural we have the eagle over the cactus tree, but he decided to go to a deeper level, and instead of showing it with the serpent, he returns to the oldest symbol, Atlachinoli, burning water, the water and the fire. And you can see here, he knew perfectly all the mythology. He read all the chronicles of the Franciscan monks. He knew almost all the codex that were known in his times. And you can see here, we can see an Aztec priest with a heart. And the heart is exactly where the cactus tree is born. Heart of the first sacrifice man. But the image has other meanings. For example, in the lower part, we have the battle between Spaniards and indigenous people. This battle has the origin of the new nation. And well, with that, I'm gonna finish my presentation. Thank you very much. Any question?
So, obviously you have a history here, but what does it actually mean to you? I mean, part of it's just history, but you personally, I mean, what does this actually mean to you? Is this are you looking at your own history here, or how do you resolve these conflicts here? I mean, what does it actually mean to you, in other words?
Well, yes, it's part of my personal history. I look, like many people say, like a Spaniard maybe, but I have indigenous blood. Like my grandmother was a Maya medicine woman, which married a Spanish guy from the side of my father. No? From the side of my mother, my grandfather was an Indian people from Baja California, the north, married with a Spanish-French woman. So I'm a mixture, yes? What does it really mean to me? I think all these symbols have to do with the spiritual development of human beings, yes? And that ancient cultures in Mexico developed a sophisticated perspective of what we are as human beings, a sophisticated perspective of our relationship with nature, with the cosmos, with the space and time, and I think all those ideas are fundamental for our present day. Yeah, so I don't know if I could answer you.
But the Mayans have a different root than the Aztecs.
Yes, they have a different root, but the interesting thing about what we call Mesoamerica, nowadays in Mesoamerica we have 62 different Indian languages, yes? With China and India, we are the third part of the world with more cultural diversity. Well, all that great diversity has a common ground, yes? So, the Mayas, the Aztecs, the people from Oaxaca, the people from Veracruz, they all share certain basic ideas, yes? And from those basic ideas, they will develop in a different ways. One very important element talking about the comparison between Mayan and Aztecs, the Aztec didn't use this third kind of calendar called the large cone. That is this famous 2012 thing. Only the Mayas and also an indigenous group from the Veracruz area use that third kind of calendar. It's a cycle of more than 5,134 years that started in 3,114 before Christ and finishes 2012. Yes, but even if the Aztecs or the Zapotecs didn't use this third kind of calendar, they have this same cyclic perspective of time. Yes, and the Aztecs, for example, they have this idea of ages. Yes, and they call these ages suns. Many elders of the Nahuatl tradition nowadays say that since 2000 we are passing through a period of 13 years until 2012 where we are changing from the fifth sun to the sixth sun. So the main ideas are the same for all the indigenous people, even though they spoke a very different language and they expressed that idea in many different ways. But for example, the feather serpent, that is like maybe the most important symbol of ancient Mexico. Exacto, Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan in the Mayas of Yucatan, or Gucumans in the Quiches of Guatemala. It's a symbol of life, of wisdom, is the exemplar mother for human being, and it's a common symbol for all these cultures.
Do you think it's possible that the Kukulkan or Quetzalcoatl was actually a real person, like a risen disciple or the risen Christ? Because of all the many hundreds of stories all around North and South America of this person that comes here. And
yes, like Viracocha in the Incas. And, well, of course, Quetzalcoatl is a complex symbol. Quetzalcoatl was the creator of the universe. He was the creator of humankind. He was the one who discovered the corn. He was the creator of the calendaric system. But because of that, Quetzalcoatl was a title used by many men. We have this famous story of Seacatopilsin Quetzalcoatl, the one who was born near Cuernavaca, Morelos. He studied in Xochicalco, a beautiful archaeological site that many people think it was a kind of university, and then he went to rule Tula. But before him and after him, many men were called Quetzalcoatl. It was something like Bodhisattva in the Buddhist tradition. You call a Bodhisattva because he's an enlightened being, yes? And what we have at the center of the famous Aztec calendar stone is not really the sun. It's the exemplar model of the ruler, it's the exemplar model of the warrior, it's the exemplar model of human being. Exactly as a Tibetan mandala.
Yes. Like the Adam Kadmon of the Hebraic tradition.
Yes. Yes. So,
so it's not so much the Hunaku, but the divine man.
Yes.
Idea.
Yes, but like for example, we have some chronicles, Nahuatl language chronicles that say like the same name for Hunaku in Nahuatl will be Ometeotl, but Ometeotl, that is like the Yin Yang, right, is also called Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl represents the movement of life, yes, and it's a double serpent. No? Or it's a double-headed serpent, again duality, born in water. Duality is complex to understand for us as Westerners because we have this Aristotelic logic that we say, or this one, or this one. Now these people say, this one and this one. This is reality.
Kind of like a Christ, Antichrist reality.
Well, yes, we have, yes, like the devil and there are opposite poles, both they are necessary for existence to be. Yes, here we don't have this in this world. We don't have this close relationship between the dark forces of the universe and evil. No, it's not exactly like in a Western perspective. So they were always integrating the dark forces and the light forces. For example, we have a legend of the famous Quetzalcoatl that lived in Tula. They said that he was always meditating between his four palaces. Right. It's an image of mandala. The four palaces and he in the middle. He was always meditating until Tezcatlipoca, his brother and enemy at the same time, which means Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, right, came